Hey, listen up. We got another episode of Wise Kracks featuring the crack man himself, Bill Krackomberger, and our co-host, John Orlando, straight from Las Vegas. Wise Kracks is your ticket inside the world of sports betting with tips, picks, special guests, and more. Only on WSN.com.
Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Wise Kracks. This is absolutely the Super Bowl edition. What a big show we've got today. Bill Krackomberger joining me from the East Coast. Bill, you know, we always try to give our listeners the best information from the gambler side of things on this show by listening to you, but we are really in for a treat today. We've got not one, but two guests coming from the bookmakers side of life. We've got a big friend of the show. This will be his fourth appearance, I believe. Jay Kornegay is coming back. And then we've got the director of risk and trading over at FanDuel. John Sheeran is joining us.
Yeah, we got from coast to coast here. So we have some of the top names, top guys in the industry from a bookmaking standpoint. Really looking forward to it. Like you said, Jay is great, friend of the show. I just gave him a text. He said, yeah, I'll come on. The other guy is John Sheeran from FanDuel, and he'll be our first time. His first time on. And he is, we found out he is an Irishman from, across the way, but he's of course living here. Good guy. Happy to have him also.
Yeah, the NFL playoffs, some wild games. Was this the best NFL, or is it just because it's fresh in my head? I feel like this is the best NFL postseason we've had in a long time.
This is. No, it's not just you're not living in the moment. This is something you may never see again. From last week, 2 weeks ago, four games being decided on the last play, to last week's excitement. Cincinnati coming back again against Kansas City to win in a thriller. And, the Rams, too. Well, let's face it, both games. I mean, they were tied up late. I mean, it was just it was real exciting. It was really fun.
Yeah, the Chiefs just completely collapsed. I cannot believe that they lost that game. We'll talk about, I'm in that sports betting competition that we'll talk about a little later. And, let's just say I wasn't too happy about the Chiefs floundering last Sunday. That was just awful.
Yeah. That game was a big moneymaker for sports books. People using Chiefs money line, Chiefs in teasers, and for sure that was you know what, the sports books have cleaned up. This was a year for the sports books. They have all made so much money, and right into the playoffs, made a fortune really. Even though the Rams landed on 3, which some books went back from 3 to 3.5. A place like the South Point might get hurt on that game a little bit because, they had -3, and then they went to 3.5, and then back to 3, and back to 3.5, back to 3, 3.5 again. So they went back and forth on that number. I'm sure they probably, I bet you they made money to the game, but maybe not on the side. So it's part of the business that people want to do that. The South Point, or the reason why I say that, John, they will not go to -3, -20, 3, -30, that like every other book in the world, and put a juice onto the game. They'll just go right from 3 to 3.5, -110 both ways. That's what they do. So that's the reason why they may have lost some money on the side, but I bet you they won through the game. So anyway, it's been fun. The sports books we heard from someone earlier, which he's going to tell you, the sports books kind of, I guess, aren't upset. It's the Super Bowl. Everyone's going to bet it. I'll tell you one thing. The networks, they are very upset that teams like Tom Brady and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Kansas City Chiefs, Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers with Green Bay, they're upset those teams aren't in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
They didn't want the Rams and Bengals.
Right.
That's not a draw. But I'll tell you one thing. Myself, I am so happy the Bengals are in the Super Bowl. I used to go to Ohio every summer with my grandparents as a small child, and southeastern Ohio, by the way. Coincidentally, my dad actually graduated high school from Eastern High School in Meigs County, Ohio, where Burrow's mom is the principal of. So
wow.
High school football was giant. Every single Saturday was revolving around high school football, and so it's a big thing for Ohio. And I'm actually rooting for the Bengals. I'm actually have a side this year. Not that I'm betting a side, but I have a side I'm rooting for. So
Bill, I don't know if you remember, and maybe the producers can go back and find it, and I'm not even positive what show it was, but I want to say 2 weeks ago, I actually said on the show, could the Bengals win the Super Bowl or something like that? And like in my gut, I was like, ooh, that might be, the dark horse. They were like, I want to say 150-1 at the beginning of the year, I think. Yeah. And yet I end up betting on the Chiefs last week. Is that?
Of course you did.
Of course I did. Right. You never get caught up in that emotional side of betting, right? Like that's what happened to me, right? Is the Mahomes and his past gets into my head, and the Chiefs are this juggernaut in my head that just can't be taken down. Like because
I got to tell you,
yeah,
I've talked about this before about live wagering. The sports books they welcome Chiefs bets. I found a sports book here in New Jersey that I've never mentioned before, Barstool. They had a 4.5 on the game live. When other sports books had a 3.5, Kansas City -3.5, even -3, -30, they had a 4.5. I had a good amount there. I had 5 figures there, but if I had a lot of money, like 50 grand there, I would have bet a ton of money back and forth and tried to middle that 3 and 4.5, even though there was some juice on the 3. It was late in the game. But I just actually took the 4.5, multiple max bet times. And probably got caught up in the moment myself, knowing that the public, the way they're betting, a Square Sportsbook like a Barstool, everyone's betting Kansas City with them. They have to force some two-way action. I had too big of a side that I would even want on an NFL side with Barstool. I just kept betting it 2 times, 1,000. I kept on betting until, let me be blunt, I had no money in the account left. Because I went to go bet it once, and it said you don't have enough money to make that bet. It doesn't mean, and I'm not bragging because I won like whatever $8 grand on the game. I'm just saying, there's opportunities out there. There's low hanging fruit out there if you want to look for it. Most people can't bring themselves to thinking that the Bengals are going to beat the Chiefs,
right? Live,
especially when the fans, they're home, everyone's screaming. The John Orlandos of the world are, yeah, go. And sorry, it is what it is.
Fair enough.
But yeah, no, and it's hard to do, but you got to try to think outside the box a little bit, and you got to think what the bookmaker's rooting for.
Yeah. And then let's move on to the Niners and Rams. How did you make out on that one?
Well, I didn't have a side there. Didn't have a dog in the fight. That game it landed right on the number, but there was 3s and 3.5, so it landed on the number. I honestly think that most of the sports books still cleaned up though on everything. I lost a terrible prop that game. Oh my God, I had under 231.5 on Garoppolo, and his final number was 232.
Wow!
So, to lose a passing prop by half a yard.
Oh my God!
Terrible.
Yeah.
Terrible. He throws these little 5-yard passes and they just break loose for, 20, 15, 12, 13 yards, whatever. And just one more yard and it would have been a winner. It was a giant swing for me. It happens though. It happens. I'm going to have a lot of props though, both ways here for the Super Bowl. I don't like really betting overs on props. I'm more of an under guy, but, and then that happened to me on that San Fran game. But overall though, we're killing them for the year, and it's a long-term game. As long as you stay within yourself, bankroll management, I'm going to make money. It's that simple.
I can't imagine being Kyle Shanahan blowing, I want to say his 3rd or 4th big game that he had a huge lead in, the Super Bowl back in Atlanta. And, I can't, what a crazy meltdown. What is that? What do you make of that?
I actually didn't put any thought into it.
No?
It can't make me any money. I'm looking for stuff that's going to make me money. Now, granted, I'm not saying that coaching decisions and coaching personnel are not going to make you money because of previous decisions they made and what they do. But I have no real opinion on. I don't even follow this stuff on like ESPN on Flores now suing somebody, and I really don't watch anything like that. It can't make me any money. I know it's fun to talk about stuff. I try to have as little drama or watch as little drama in my life as possible. I don't watch the Stephen A. Smiths yelling and screaming, and some of the guys they have on. They're. I understand the reason why it's there. I know the public loves it. They like to go against guys like that or go with them and stuff, and it's fun. And nothing against Stephen A. I actually been with him, met him a couple of times, and a lot of that is just for TV. I can just tell you that.
This is the lowest combined seeds ever, and the most combined losses minus the 12 losses total for the year for the 2 Super Bowl teams. That's kind of crazy.
Exactly.
It just goes to show that any given Sunday, right?
Yeah, Buffalo they had 7 losses. I think I thought they would be in here. I mean, yeah, any given Sunday this year has really proven, and you just said it with the combined losses of these 2 teams. Again, not the teams the networks wanted in there. I can guarantee it. Maybe the Rams a little bit, but they wanted the marquee teams for sure. So.
Well, I want to remind everybody not to spend another day without getting the Pro Edge, specifically the Pro Edge provided by Mr. Bill Krackomberger. Go to crackwins.com, download the app. It's on Apple, it's on Google Play, or like I said, just go to the website. You can get all the Crackman's plays, insider information, betting tips, everything. Super Bowl is, listen to me. This is how I first got introduced to Bill Krackomberger. My friend Jake Ellenberger, former UFC great, meets me over at the Hard Rock. That was like 7 or 8 years ago now, Bill. Maybe 7 years ago, 6 years ago. I don't know. I lost track of time. A while ago. It says, hey, we're going to have lunch with my buddy Bill. He's a big sports bettor. And instantly I connected with you. You're such a nice guy. And you told me inside of 10 minutes of meeting you what color the Gatorade was going to be at the end of the game. You told me what song. I want to say it was... Yellow.
Coldplay?
Well, Coldplay, Yellow, right? What song they would play at halftime. You gave me and Jake like 4 different prop bets, and every single one of them hit. And I became a Crack Wins fan instantly.
Yeah, I had some good inside word on what the song was going to be. And even when I filmed Action on Showtime, I actually knew what color the Gatorade was in both buckets. So that was... that good little stuff there. And the sports books, unfortunately, a lot of them really don't offer that. Maybe because we're talking about that kind of stuff. I probably shouldn't be. But, so I've had some good information over the years on that kind of stuff. And it's usually a fun bet. They don't give you a lot of money on it. It's, minimal amounts. And the song, especially like the song. And, really, just think about this. So you take someone that sings the national anthem, and that they're going to be on it. It's announced many months ahead of time. And you go back on YouTube and just research how many times they sung the national anthem.
Right.
Time it, and you can come up with their average. And maybe you add a couple seconds for being a more long drawn out theatrical production.
Yep.
So it's kind of easy. You're kind of doing your own work there, and they take an average of that also. But you hope you could put the street smarts element into it, what they're actually going to do at that time. And it's research. It's not just guessing and having fun. And, John, I never told you years ago, 20 years ago, I used to have an edge on the coin flip. So
how could you have an edge on the coin flip?
Yeah.
What?
Can you, right, John? Yeah. I think they stopped it in 2000.
Wait a minute. Come on. Are you being serious? Isn't it just...
Well, John, back then, and let's see, I had something here. This was just spontaneous. So let's say this is the coin.
Right.
So this is the coin. Well, the one side of the coin had a nice commemorative side, which was, let's say, an eagle or something. It was a puffy eagle on the heads. This is heads, and the bottom's a nice flat side of the coin with nothing on it. Well, the puffy side of the coin is weighted to the head because it has a commemorative seal on it.
Uh-huh.
So therefore, when it's flipped in the air, chances are the heavy side is going to land down and tails will be the outcome. I don't want to tell you how many years in a row that was. Like 97, 96, I think 96 to 2002 or 3. I think we only lost one. And in one year, a little kid flipped it in his hand like this. It went straight up, straight down. And I said, oh my God, there's nothing going. It's not turning. I needed to have that bounce to it. And sure enough, it bounced from the head right to the tail. And literally, it bounced up and landed on the right side. But I think one year you can still get it wrong. It's a weighted coin, but that was something that was 20 some years ago, 25. It looks like 25 years ago now.
That is the coolest thing. I love it. I never would have thought. I love that. That's incredible. See, so guys, stuff like that. Only the crack man is hip to that. Download the app today. Check it out.
Yeah, we're gonna have a lot of props up there. We give out one already. We're gonna have a ton of props, and I do lean to the Bengals in the game plus the 4.5. I think the underdogs have been barking all throughout these games here, but I won't have any big side on that unless I find a plus 4.5, no juice or something, or some kind of a special or something. NFL, I think any given Sunday can win. So
for sure,
we'll see what happens here. And I mostly want to be on the sportsbook side of things. I would think that they would be rooting for the Bengals, but I'm reading all the splits here right now. The splits on all the websites, the big sites like DraftKings and stuff, they're putting up splits every day. Like 69% of the money is actually on the Bengals, but I think that'll change more towards game time. I think the sportsbooks will need the Bengals. We'll see.
For those of you listening that have not been crushing the online sports books and making, if you haven't made any first-time deposits, now is the week to do it, right? I mean, head on over to WSN. Bill can tell you he's on that site every single day. It's his morning ritual. And for those of you listening, if you're new to the show or you just haven't started betting online yet, now's the time, because the bonuses you can get for this particular weekend now, I would assume, is going to be unbelievable, right?
Listen, I was on the site before here because I wanted to see what the new bonus was in New York. I figured they were going to scale it back to, what everyone else has. Not true. It's a $1,500 deposit bonus in New York. You deposit, you get $1,500 extra in your account through WSN.com, of course. So, yes, bonuses are fantastic. If you haven't joined now these sports books, there's a ton of them. New Jersey has Tipico, which is a brand new sports book to the market. It's kind of brand new marketing wise. They really aren't out there. You can go right to the Ocean Casino here and fund it, but you have to go to WSN.com, click the link, sign up through the link. That's how you get that bonus. So, and that's just like I said, all the different sports books in there, the markets. You click on the state, go down, click on the link, and it'll send you to the sports book with the best bonus. WSN really negotiates some really great bonuses with these sports books. But not only that, the articles, there's new articles up there every day, marketplace articles about what's going on in the country. Louisiana just opened up. DraftKings just opened there, and there's a good article on that. Articles on the Super Bowl, of course, and the sports betting side of things, both sides, the gambling side, the regulation side, the state side, and of course those great fancy, I shouldn't say fancy, those great plentiful bonuses I wanted to say. So yeah, get over to WSN.com.
Okay, Bill, our first guest today on Wise Kracks. He's been on Wise Kracks. I want to say this is his 4th trip, which might be a record. We love having him on. He's the Vice President of Race and Sportsbook Operations at the Westgate in Las Vegas. You know the Westgate, Bill. It's one of your favorite books to bet in the world. He's getting ready for the busiest day of the year on Super Bowl Sunday. A true friend of the show, Mr. Jay Kornegay, joining us today. How are you, Jay?
Hey, good morning.
Thanks for coming in, man. We really appreciate it. I know you're busy this time of the year. And, I'm going to get right into the questions here because I know you are a busy guy now. So everyone really can't stop talking about how great the games have been. And they have been unbelievable. Even myself, was excited, and I was into it with the fans this year more than ever. So essentially, really, the last 6 games have been decided on the last play or last series of the game. So did those great games translate into lots of action for you guys? How was this year's volume compared to previous years? And I'm guessing your sports book, like other sports books, have pretty much cleaned up throughout the playoffs.
Yeah, well, first of all, I totally agree with you, as many of us do. The playoffs have been just tremendous. I mean, kind of shocking and surprising, to tell you the truth, because we tend to complain about some of these matchups and games at times. But this year has been totally different. Being in the sports book, whatever book that you might be in, has just been electric. Some of these fantastic finishes have just made it the atmosphere in sports books just so electric. So really, it's really benefited from us for us over the last couple of weeks. But I got to tell you, the in-game wagering, and it really depends, Bill. A lot of people like to play those favorite teams when they fall behind. We have a lot of those that love to do that, but in certain cases, the favorites were ahead. So the wrong team in their minds were ahead, during these games, and therefore didn't really translate into a lot of in-game wagering that we would normally see if the favorite falls behind. For example, when the Bengals were playing the Chiefs, a lot of people weren't betting the Bengals to come back.
Of course.
If it was the other way around, it certainly would have attracted a lot of action. But the handle, I mean, we set a record in 2021, Bill, and for a handle for the Superbook, and it carried over into the playoffs. The action, the handle that we saw in January, I think was the second biggest that we've ever seen. And we expect that to continue for the Super Bowl, despite the matchup. A lot of people don't think it's a marquee matchup, but the other way around, I believe it's the event that sells itself, and we'll be close to another record. So I think that trend is going to.
Wow, that shocks me. That's great, though. I love hearing that. Fantastic. So that was probably going to be one of our questions down the line. Here you answered it. So you think this year's handle in Nevada is going to beat previous years?
I do.
Wow. Cool.
Looking at it's very difficult to predict that. Okay. But I've talked to a few operators over the last few weeks, and everybody's reporting, either record numbers or close to record numbers. And so I know what the world's going through. We all know that, but the handle, continues to be strong throughout the entire year, throughout the playoffs. I would expect that to continue for the Super Bowl.
Yeah, gambling is one of those things that survives any kind of a pandemic. These casinos on the weekends here, Jay, is so packed. I cannot believe the action on the weekends. Walk through someplace like Caesar's Palace on the weekend. I mean, you cannot move. It's unbelievable. So you're right. People have money and find money to gamble. All right, John, what do you got for Jay?
Yeah, Jay, I'm new to the sports betting world. I've always been a table games loser, but Bill's changing my ways. So, I'm all about the prop bets because who doesn't love a nice prop bet? Can you talk a little bit about that? Like, what are the limits for props over there? And I know you still can't parlay props, right? Which is really upsetting for me because that would just seem like a win-win for me. I can't wait to.
You might be able to, though, John. There might be a couple of them you could. Jay will answer that for us. You might be able to parlay certain kind of props. So
can you, Jay?
Sorry to interrupt your question.
Yeah, well, first of all, guys, we're working on the propositions as we speak. We got all the guys locked up in a room down the hallway. And normally we would do it at somebody's house, but because of what we've been going through, some people thought it would be safer to be in a room down the hall. And we have a big boardroom, and they have a couple TVs in there. They got sandwiches all day. It's not a bad gig, okay? But they do a lot of work. We will open up our propositions at the retail outlet here in Las Vegas 7 p.m. Pacific time on Thursday night. Our limits are $2,000 per hit. Because we have such a huge draw at that time, we give everybody like the 3 bets. Don't quote me on that one, but 2 or 3 bets, and then everybody kind of rotates around. There's one line. It's just easier for us to manage and book that way. If we were to open up all the windows, people would be betting the same thing, and it's kind of a mess. So we'll do that. As far as the parlays, John, Bill, you're right. Over the years, we do have out of our Super Bowl packet, which is about 18, 20 pages, thick. We do have a parlay page, which is actually a different color page than all the rest of them. And you can go right to that color page. And this year, I believe it's light blue. Anything on that light blue page, front or back, you can parlay. So if you are into that, John, you would be able to do that here at the Superbook.
And then part two of my question, the numbers are up already on DraftKings and FanDuel. Does that give you any sort of advantage?
No, we don't look at them at all. Actually, we just do our own thing. We've always been doing our thing. Now we've thrown up some propositions ourselves. Okay. But we're looking at over 500 propositions.
Wow.
And all those numbers are originated from the Superbook. So I'm not sure if, are you talking about all propositions? Because I know everybody's kind of still working on them. A lot of them that we have are original, propositions. I know that over the years, some of them became standard propositions for the industry, but the numbers that we look at, I mean, we don't even look at anybody else's. We put up our own. But I can tell you this, and Bill loves this, that when we start seeing early action, let's just say passing yards by Stafford, and we put up 286 or something like that, and we get some underplays from the sharp play, we have a pretty good idea somebody else has put up a lower number.
Got it.
And, they're probably betting over 270 someplace and maybe under 286, at our place. But we're very confident in our numbers. We have a great bunch of guys back there, and we'll just throw them up without looking at anyone else's.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, Jay. They put up props in New Jersey. It upset me tremendously. They put up props in Jersey on Sunday night and Monday, player props. And I like when the Superbook comes out. I'm a tradition guy. I'm a creature of habit. I like Superbook puts them out. There's a lottery. You get to stand in line, 2,000 a prop. You get three. It's been three previous years. 3 is your max bet, 3 games. Go back on the end of the line, do it again. And then let me just be blunt, and I'm not speaking for you, but I'm speaking for someone in the industry. Everyone kind of gets that pamphlet. They want that packet of lines. And I'm sorry to insult any of the sports books. They want to know what the Westgate's on. So the Westgate being the leader, and not just because you're here, I talk about that off air. When you're not here, that everyone copies those lines. So this year may be a little bit different because of the FanDuels and DraftKings of the world. But you guys are also over here. You guys are also in New Jersey, I should say. Am I correct? Will they be open in Jersey on the app Friday? Is that when they'll probably be open?
That's the plan, Bill. So let me clarify on that, and I do appreciate the good word there. We will open up the retail props, or I should say we'll be able to bet on the props at the retail outlet on Friday on Thursday, and then on Friday it goes on the apps in other jurisdictions. So at first, when we open them up on Thursday at 7 p.m. Pacific time, that's only available at the retail outlet here. But come Friday, all other jurisdictions, which Colorado, New Jersey, and Arizona, including the Nevada app, will be available on the mobile devices come Friday.
Let's get to something else here. Now, John, Orlando, you don't know about this yet because you're not in front of a screen like me every Sunday night. The Westgate did it again. They opened the first Super Bowl line. You guys opened it up before anybody else, and everyone else copied that line. They went by that line as a guide, but you were the first book in the world to put up the line. How do you guys do that? You've been doing it throughout the whole playoffs too, by the way. Every single playoff game's over, Westgate's the first book. By the way, you take like 10 grand on it, on a bet too, or 20 grand. I think you were taking 20,000 on the opening line. How do you guys do this every week?
Well, we go through a discussion, and believe me, Bill, we don't agree all the time. In fact, when we were making that number for this year's Super Bowl, we had numbers anywhere from 2.5 to 4. Now we settled in at 3.5, but the market was kind of moving up, and we saw that, and so we get that the first couple of days that it's really just kind of settling in. I thought that we had a pretty good number on the total as well. We were all very close, anywhere from 50 to 51. We opened up 50.5, and now it's down to 48.5, which is understandable. I was just looking at some of the percentages of our ticket counts, and I think about 76% of the tickets so far have been on the under. And what is surprising is that about 69% of the tickets so far have been on the Bengals on the spread. Now we all know that the money line is going to be dominated by the dog, but I thought it was pretty interesting so far that 69% of the tickets have been on the Bengals. But to answer your question, we just kind of hash it out. We have a discussion and we kind of go back and forth, and then we have enough confidence with our group that we throw out there that we're satisfied with that number. Again, we opened 3.5. Now it's up to 4.5.
Hey, Jay, you said something. Sorry, Bill. You said something really interesting, though. The way you're phrasing it makes me have to ask. When you say we have a discussion and we don't always agree, I'm picturing it's like a war room in there and you guys are like going at it, and almost like how you would, break down a game with your friends on why a certain team's going to win, why they're not going to win. Is it like that? Like, does it actually get heated a little bit when you guys are doing this?
Well, friends
unofficially.
Friends is a strong word. They're coworkers. No, we've been doing it for years. I've been working with some of these guys for 20 plus years, almost 30 years in some cases, and so we certainly respect one another, but we do hash it out. And I can say yes, that over the years there's been some arguments and even side bets at times. So,
oh wow, that's awesome.
We have a lot of pride in our own numbers, but we do respect one another. And even though we had a lot of them at 3 when we posted or when we first talked about the number, we had that 1 2.5, and we had a 1 4, but that 4 kind of had a louder voice, and we ended up going 3.5.
Wow, but yet, Jay. Are you guys still at 4.5? I think you guys are still at 4.5, correct?
That is
game.
Correct. Yep.
So let me ask you. You said 69% of your. I don't know if you said that to the money or the bets. If it's the handle, I'd like to know. So eventually, by the time the game kicks off, do you think you will be rooting for the Rams? I thought bookmakers would be rooting for Cincinnati. What do you think when kickoff comes? Who you guys will need? What do you think is going to happen?
I think it's going to be very typical sport or Super Bowl betting, and right. We're going to need the favorite to win but not cover. So we'll probably need the Rams to win by 1, 2, or 3, as most of the money line bets that will come in on Cincinnati. And I do believe that will change, as we get closer to kickoff, and especially the Super Bowl weekend, that most of the spread wagers will be on the favorite. So the books will probably be rooting for a victory by the Rams, either by 1, 2, or 3 points.
Okay. And you know what? Now that we're talking about your team, which I think you, Ed, Jeff, those guys, I mean, they're some of the sharpest guys in the industry themselves. I think they could make livings literally betting sports, by the way. For anyone who doesn't know it, that's the guys that are the directors in there that are actually, are they called traders? What do you call them? They used to be called bookmakers. Are they called traders out there, Jay? What is Ed and Jeff? Are they the head traders of the sports book? Is that correct?
Well, I call them a lot of different names, Bill, but mainly they're Ed and Jeff to me.
Oh, there you go. That's what I like.
They're VPs of risk management. Yes.
VPs of risk management. Okay. Well, listen, I got to tell you, I appreciate you guys taking my bets, especially this past season. Since this year is a special year, since the season started, since the football season started, I have really cracked you guys. I don't know if you even know, but I've really cracked you guys. My account is up a lot of money, and I appreciate you guys taking my bets. You guys instantly move off my bets too. I'll tell you something though. I'll give you guys even more credit. This is something maybe you don't know. When I bet, because I bet max bets with you guys on college basketball. So when I'm betting $2,000, and the rare instance that Westgate the Superbook does not move the line, I know I'm in trouble long term. And it's happened where I bet something and it didn't move, and I have to admit it. I say, oh no. They didn't move the line. I said, oh no, they got action from another sharp person on the other side, bigger opinion or whatever it may be. But I still give you a lot of credit, man. You guys are taking bets off me. Usually I'm betting something that I originate, of course, and the line moves. And you guys do take that bet. So I really appreciate it. A lot of places don't.
Well, there's a lot of mutual respect there, Bill. So, we always appreciate the kind words that you say about us, and we try to be as fair as we can. I know a lot of people like, oh, you should take larger limits, but I think our limits are very fair. As long as, the people that are on the other side of the counter just kind of play by the rules, we're fine with that. And you certainly do that. We give you the guidelines and you stick to them. Those that try to either, circumvent those type of rules, that's where, we have a disagreement. But over the years, you've always followed the rules, our guidelines, and we appreciate that.
Hey, listen, I'll tell the guys out there too. I usually don't talk like this, but I bet 2,000 a game with Jay's book, and I'm up close to six figures, very close to six figures this year. So I appreciate these guys, what they've done for me. So, John, what else you got?
Well, Jay, I just want to echo what Bill said. Every time I go in that sports book, same thing for me. I place a bet. That line does not move. You guys don't move the line off of my action, and I know I'm in trouble exactly at that point.
That's funny. I mean, John has killed more people than COVID with his picks this year, Joe. So, yeah, it's just.
How does that journey take place there, John? So you make a bet at the counter. Do you go back into the seats, go back by the bar, and do you just watch it for a while and go kind of, please move?
Yeah, yeah. Well, my process, Jay, is I show up at the counter and I ask the person behind the counter for a coin. And then I flip it and I go, I'll take the Cowboys and the points. That's basically my process. Yeah, doesn't work out. Well, Jay, thank you so much for joining us. We know this is a huge week for you, and Super Bowl is obviously your big day there in the casino. And thank you for taking the time to talk to us today.
It's always.
Thanks, Jay. Thanks for coming on, man.
Thanks, Bill.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
Bill, I think he might be one of my favorite guests on the show. I love when Jay Kornegay is on this show.
Oh, man. He's great. I'm so glad he gives us time. We're really blessed, John. We had two of the top guys here coast to coast in the sports betting business. So happy to have them for Super Bowl time when they're real busy.
So, Bill, as you know, I'm in this competition, Best Better. I'm not the best better after week one. I went 1-4, and I made some colossal fails. I was all over the Chiefs, and then I bet futures. With part of the bankroll. I don't know. I thought I had a lock, Bill, a lock. I had Mahomes. I had the Chiefs to beat the Rams. At least I was right. The Rams did make it in, but I have I took the future of the Chiefs beating the Rams, and I took the future of Mahomes being the Super Bowl MVP. Was that bad of a bet? I feel like that was smart. No, I guess not.
Well, I mean, in the end, no. But you know what? Mahomes being the MVP would probably happen if the Chiefs were in the Super Bowl and if they won the Super Bowl. So I don't mind quarterbacks as MVPs, but you bet what everyone else bets. So there's nothing wrong with consistency. You know what I mean? I bought the URL. I have it still. I really do.
Yeah.
It's johnorlando.com and it's in the first section there. Oh no, that wasn't it. Wait a minute. Hold on. I bought this URL. I never told you. Anyway, John Orlando. What was it? Oh man, I had it down somewhere, John. I'm sorry. I don't want to embarrass you.
No, it's okay.
Anyway,
it's okay.
It might have been like John Orlando loses.com, something like that.
And it's and to make it easy, it's all the sports books can just put their information where I can just send money directly to them without making a bet. Let's just cut out the betting part, right? Let me just send the money.
Yeah, I'm just teasing you there. So it's all fun, John. You're not like anyone else. It's the reason why the sports books make the money. Trust me. Everyone was betting Kansas City money line, Kansas City teaser, like I said before. So I understand you were actually smart enough to think one of these futures to bet the MVP being the quarterback. So I have no problem with that, buddy.
All right, fair enough. All right, Bill, it's time for our next guest. This is an epic Wise Kracks, 2 guests in one episode. I don't think we've ever done this before. He's the director of risk. He's the director of risk and trading at FanDuel. We're thrilled to have on the show for the first time, John Sheeran. How are you, John?
Great. Thank you for having me. Really appreciate the conversation on what is a busy week. So thanks for squeezing me in.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. Are you kidding me? It's great. I really appreciate you coming on here. So again, like what people know, he is the director of or a director of risk and trading. And of course, we are absolutely thrilled to have him on. John, I'm going to let you have the first question.
Yeah. So, John, I'm just curious to know, like, how did you start in the business? You know, were you always? I'm assuming you were always a big sports fan. And when did you get into the gambling side of things and get involved with FanDuel?
Man, that's a long story. I've been in the business for almost 20 years at this stage in the industry more broadly. Was involved in betting professionally, horses and greyhounds, and worked at the racetrack back in Ireland 20 years ago. So got a good grounding, a good understanding for, what was required. And like I said, particularly around horse racing, that's where I kind of learned the odds making trade and kind of had to adjust that pretty quickly. Obviously, when PASPA was repealed back in 2018, I moved from Ireland over to the US to kind of set up the risk and trading function for FanDuel, and obviously the rest is kind of as everybody knows it.
Wow, it's cool. Really
Speaking
cool.
my language with horse racing, I love it.
I was just going to say that actually. That you had the horse racing in your background, and that is sports betting can actually now be the new. Horse racing was giant back then. I think sports betting really has taken over and, of course, surpassed it. So you've actually adapted and changed with the times. Well, John, listen, everyone can't stop talking about how great these games have been recently. Essentially, the last 6 games literally have been decided by the last play or last series. Did those games translate into big action for you guys? How was the volume of this year's playoffs compared to previous years? I would think more, but I'd like to hear from you.
For us to measure year on year is kind of apples and pears. It's very different, the landscape here now with new states. We're still seeing growth in New Jersey alone, even accounting for how big the numbers have been in New York. So very difficult to kind of compare year on year. But what I would say is there's certainly that halo effect based on how good the games have been and how close they've been. The last thing we need from a handle perspective is somebody to race off into the distance. The money line to be effectively over early in games is obviously never going to be of any interest. So the comebacks, the way that they happened, games going right down to the wire, nothing but positive from a bookmaker's perspective.
Cool. Johnny O? Oh, do we have John Orlando?
Sorry, Bill, I had to go grab something for one of my questions.
Okay.
It's not a football question, but the accent makes me have to ask. Are you a Conor McGregor fan? And will he be the favorite to win his next fight?
Look, what I would say is to get to the pinnacle of the sport, the way that he did, to bring the sport, entirely forward, obviously from a financial perspective, from a selfish point of view for Conor. It's pretty incredible where he came from. So I've got a lot of respect for what he's been able to achieve in the octagon. I think the brand that he built has been phenomenal. And I think globally, in general, people have quite a strong, high opinion of Conor McGregor. Maybe I don't, but that's probably a conversation for a different day.
Fair enough.
I'm with you, by the way. I'm with you, John. I'm not the biggest fan. I'm all about old school, good, setting good examples for people and kids and generations. I'm very, very old school. John, typically Super Bowl prop bets have been originated in Las Vegas, especially for me for over the years, and they come out about 10 days before the game. You guys had them up like Sunday night, Monday morning, a full 14 days before the game. Is there like a team meeting before releasing these to the public? Or do you just trust one guy in the prop department? I'm sure you have a prop department. Or is there like a team meeting? You guys shocked everyone by coming up so early with props, and maybe even hurt some of the sharp guys because, we like waiting for the props to be up nationwide before we start firing on them. But, you guys and DK really came out with them first. So I just wanted to know, like, how does that happen? Are you guys ready Sunday night for the Super Bowl props right after the game starts? Unbelievable.
Look, we made a conscious decision over the last couple of years to get better at, publishing the markets, particularly the higher profile player level ones. The game was pretty much at full level of an ordinary NFL game in terms of our offering by very early AM Eastern time on the Monday morning. That is just, a very obvious decision in my eyes. I don't get the idea for waiting. We didn't really have a whole lot of injury concerns around the key skill player positions. And from that perspective, we're able to build out the offering because they're obviously all very heavily correlated within the algorithm. So it's not as easy. We can't just release one receiver, one running back, and the passer, just because those things are all correlated to the total outcome of the game in terms of plays, number of plays, targets, plays run, and the share as they're shared across the kind of players involved. So yeah, we made a conscious decision to do it. The guys have enough data, both what they retain themselves. They also are able to kind of plug that through the model and drive it out the far side. The model itself, will calculate all the probabilities based on the inputs, and that's a pretty easy publish for us then on Sunday night and Monday morning to gradually roll it out. So not necessarily a team decision, certainly some opportunity, and then the guys will add their kind of opinions based on matchups and stuff like that on top and layer them over what the algorithm spits out. So an easy process, one that I think, is the way that it should be for a game like the Super Bowl.
Awesome.
John,
right,
in the first 16 days since mobile betting was launched in New York, they've done 1.2 billion. I can't even, that number just blows me away. Were you guys surprised by the signups, or did you actually expect that kind of volume? And do you think it's going to continue on that path?
Obviously very excited, number one, off the top, the way that the New York market has materialized. It went in the end very quickly. We've all been waiting for it for far too long, but once they were ready to go, I think we got notified like maybe the Wednesday morning, ready to go live on Friday morning. So like 2 days. So I think one really good testament to like our tech teams and the project delivery teams who were able to get through that in 48 hours. It's, our side of the business is just one element. There's other verticals to be considered, to be ready to go in such a short lead-in time, but they did a really good job. So stability was really good. We didn't have any issues that we may have had a few years ago in the past if this had been asked of us. So obviously very promising start. And then, around the numbers, I think we were all expecting New York to be a huge market. Absolutely no doubt that none of the operators had any idea it would be at the scale that it is, though.
Wow, very cool. John, I have said on so many appearances on different shows, FanDuel is literally the sharpest of all the legal sports books in the market space. Is it because you take a bet from some of the sharper guys or someone you respect, or is it because you follow maybe some of the sharper sports books in far off places? It seems like whenever I go to make a bet at FanDuel, you guys are ahead of me. You guys are ahead of the market, I should say, where you actually. Where if I go to bet something -4, minus $1.10, you guys are already -4, minus $1.14. So a lot of the sharper bets that I make doesn't go on in the FanDuel. So I'm just wondering, are you guys really exactly what I say, that sharp? You're ahead of the other sports books, or are you following the sharper sports books and getting a better eye, or are you taking bets, or is that the secret sauce?
I don't know that it's any of those particularly. I think, from our perspective as a global group, we have invested very heavily in risk and trading as a department, and particularly in odds making. I think comparatively against the other major sports book players in the regulated US market, we for sure believe that we've got a significant advantage, right? One is experience, and two is the investment that we've made. We are the first in the world to go up with a lot of NBA games long before those sharp offshore books that you reference are up, and particularly on back-to-back games. So certainly pay attention to what the consensus price is. Certainly pay attention to movements in the market in other places. That absolutely is a reference point for us. But I think fundamentally at core, it comes down to just the investment. Like, we believe in backing our own guys, and if we've got an opinion on the Super Bowl, I think we're still -4. There's a lot of places -4.5. Our number doesn't get anywhere close to 4.5, which is why we're a little underneath where the market sits. As we talk right now, I don't fundamentally agree with it myself personally. I think this is a good spot for the Rams when you weigh everything up. But That said, I think it's that investment and experience that we've built up over a long period of time to get good guys that have got good opinions, that have proven that they've been able to beat the market, controlling what our numbers are.
Cool.
John, do the big sports books like FanDuel like taking a side on certain games, or do you try or is it your goal to get equal action on both sides?
Equal action on both sides is a fallacy, in my opinion. I don't understand why anyone would ever look to do it. I get that in Las Vegas in particular, smaller bookmakers have looked to reduce their exposure. In my opinion, moving a line off what you think the true probability is fundamentally bad bookmaking, and I would never want to give away positive margin in my favor just to level off or reduce volatility or variance. So I'm surprised anyone has ever entered that practice. I get it for smaller operators who don't have the capacity for volatility or exposure that a group like Flutter do, and we're lucky. I'm privileged to be in a position where on a Monday morning we don't get dragged in if we get one wrong and say, why did you lose $20 million on the game last night? And I appreciate that's not for everyone, but the idea that, you know, operators and bookmakers are looking to level action off and move lines just to make, you know, equal both sides, I think is nonsense.
Well, Bill,
Fantastic.
I would think that's music to your ears, right, Bill? Because
that is good,
right? Because I always feel like your gripe with the books is they sweat the money, and it doesn't sound like FanDuel sweats the money, right?
No, FanDuel's not sweating, especially the NFL market. I think they welcome giant bets. So on all sorts of things, actually, the NBA, like you said, they put up first. I know in person, I go down to the Bally's right here in Atlantic City, and they're fantastic to me. I very rarely get denied a bet, and I'm betting thousands of dollars on things. I walked in there yesterday and bet $2,500 on the Super Bowl prop. It actually went through. I mean, that doesn't happen a lot of places. So I appreciate that. And I have a big question for you, though, John. Where do you think you're going to be on Super Bowl day? Where do you think FanDuel is going to be? Do you think you're going to be actually needing the Rams, which I'm seeing? I'm looking at the splits from a lot of the sports books, what they put out there. Looks like right now they need the Rams. Is that where you see do you see this line going any higher? Do you see it coming down a little bit, which I would think, if anything, it may come down a little bit. I don't know, though. That's, you know, anything can happen now with this much volume in the States. But what side do you guys think you'll need a kickoff?
It's a good question. I'd be really surprised if we don't need the Bengals pretty strongly in the game. I think the ideal scenario is that you get a Rams win under the number, obviously, so anywhere inside 4 right now. Right now, as it stands, it's a pretty big landslide on the money line for the Bengals. We've taken, you know, in terms of bet count, it's 5-6 to 1 in favor of Cincinnati on the money line. The money is actually only 2 to 1 though. So I think we'll see a lot of people invest in the story and narrative around Burrow and win the game. But I think where we expect to see most of the action and the spread, I think it'll all be for Los Angeles. I think closer to kickoff, I'd be surprised if the line doesn't swell towards Los Angeles as well. We're at 4. Our number doesn't get there, but I think from a matchup perspective, I think the Rams make a hell of a lot of sense on both sides of the ball.
Wow, fantastic. Well, thanks. Thanks so much for coming on. We really appreciate it. We enjoyed it, and people want to follow Johnny at J Sheeran 1981 on Twitter. And again, really appreciate you coming on, spending some time with us. I know you're real busy, John.
No problem. Happy to be here, guys. Good luck and all the best for the Super Bowl.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Loved having John Sheeran on the show from FanDuel's. That was your first time ever talking to him, right?
Yes. First time. He was following me on Twitter. I DM'd him and he agreed to join us. So.
Oh, really? I didn't realize that's how that all took place.
That's how it happened.
And so those guys, when he's following you, though, he's probably trying to be stealth, right? Like he's probably trying to get information to help him make his decisions.
Not someone that advanced. Probably not. There's an analytics department there. He's 20 years in the business, so he doesn't need me to know where lines are going. And they're pretty sharp over there at FanDuel. It's
an interesting dynamic. It's like you're the enemy, but you're not the enemy. But you're kind of the enemy.
Yeah. No, that's good that they let me. They let me bet, because I know a couple guys really, to be honest with you, they don't really let bet on the app. So I'm happy to be one of them that they do. So one of the sharp guys they do.
All right. Well, Bill, this was fun. I wish I could be watching the Super Bowl with you this year, but obviously you'll be back east, and hopefully we'll reconvene here in the studio soon.
We will. Great job. Look forward to seeing it. Look forward to seeing all you guys next week. Thanks for joining us, and we're going to have a really great guest next week also.